All right. Welcome back to another episode of In the Foxhole. I'm your host, JC Chanowski.
And I'm Angela Schroeder.
Well, hello, Angela.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. We're super excited for our awesome guest.
I know, because not only is he a great business owner, amazing father and husband, but is stud when it comes to working out in the gym. And I love following him and what he's doing with his family. Josh Taylor, welcome to In the Foxhole.
All right. I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. It's been fun trying to get us connected for the last couple of weeks, but you know what? We're here. We're going to deliver an awesome episode to our viewers, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, I'd have to take the blame for half of that, right? Car accidents, plane crashes, everything you can think of.
Bit by a venomous spider.
That's right. You named it. No, I'm really happy to be here and definitely share my story. And I've been following you guys too. You guys just got back from a speaking engagement. I saw, right? You were at was it Home Service Expo? Or? Awesome.
We did.
Yeah. So, Josh, we know a little bit about you. Some of our viewers may not know anything about you. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of fill them in on Josh, your life, your business, and what you have going on?
Yeah, sure. Josh Taylor, live right outside of Washington, D.C. Southern Maryland is actually about 30 minutes south of Annapolis. I've been in home service for about 11 years now. Married my wife, Janine. She actually helped and was a big part of our first company that we started. We have 4 kids, Blake, Brody, Blair, Bryn. Try to say that really fast. It's really difficult. But yeah, I kind of got into home service by accident, if I'm being honest. I was working as a nurse at the time. I went to college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Was one of those typical kids, parents are like, go to college, that's what you're supposed to do. So I did that, and I got in there. I happened to be really good at math and science, so I ended up meeting with one of my counselors or whatever at 2 years in. And they're like, well, you got to kind of make a decision, man. You got to either pick a real major here, or do you want to get into healthcare, engineering? And honestly, I was like, well, what's the quickest path? Because I don't want to be a student. I'm not trying to do med school. I'm not trying to be in school for 8-10 years. And they're like, well, you actually, you qualify. You've got all the classes. You could apply to the nursing program. So long story short, fast forward, I ended up doing that. Got into nursing school. Ended up getting out and working as a nurse for, I'd say, at least 3 or 4 years. But the issue with that was I was still struggling all the time just, to pay the bills, really. My wife and I, she was in grad school at Loyola, and, we just needed a way to kind of bring in a little bit extra money while she was in grad school. We had 2 kids at the time, Blake and Brody. And so I remember a buddy of mine was telling me how much money he was making power washing houses. And I was like, power washing, what kind of money are we talking about? So he's like, well, come out with me and I'll show you. And he just come out with me for the day, watch what I do. So I remember going out with him, and I'm expecting, I'm excited, man. I'm going to get on this thing and just start blasting the siding and everything. And I think pressure washing, I'm like, dude, we're going to carve our name in the concrete. This is going to be cool as crap, right? So I get out there with him, and it was the most impressive but unimpressive thing I ever seen in my life. It was an hour. We were in and out. One house was done. I think we made $200. I was so impressed. I was like, oh my God, we made $200 an hour. But it was there was no pressure. It was the salt wash thing where he puts the bleach and water on the siding, and it came clean. And I remember being just blown away at how easy that was. And so I started, I went and bought a power washer from Home Depot. I didn't even have a truck. I had a little Sentra. And I ended up, my father-in-law, it's a funny story. I was kind of pitching it to him how I was trying to make a little extra money. I was like, can I borrow your Expedition, man? It's always sitting in the driveway. You're never using it, right? And he was reluctant. This Expedition was a big deal to him because it was 30 years old, and he had taken care of it. And he was so proud that he did every oil change. So anyway, I get this Expedition, tarps in the back. I go out and I start power washing, and that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. That first house wash that I got done, I knew that I was being called to do something different. So I worked as a nurse part-time or full-time for about a year and a half more, and I would do the power washing on the weekends, a little bit more in the summertime. Nursing's 3 days a week, 36 hours. So you end up having a lot of extra time. You can almost kind of pick up another job. So I did that for about a year and a half. It was very successful. It was like, man, I'm making more money in a weekend than I am in 2 weeks as a nurse. So I put, a little tiny business plan together on a napkin and started doing street signs, and ended up going part-time nursing, more aggressive with the power washing. Then I'd say a year and a half after that, so we're 3 years in now, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get an LLC. I'm going to leave my nursing job. So I left my nursing job, ended up getting, getting a good 6 to 8 month season under my belt, power washing, and just kind of took it easy in the wintertime. I ended up picking up some contracts as a nurse. Nursing is really cool. It's very flexible. You can work with these agencies and pick up like 6-week, 12-week contracts. So that worked out really well for me at the time. I think the challenge that I ran into was that I kind of held back on the business because I knew I had that to fall back on, right? I wasn't really all in, wasn't really committed. And that's always like, I think back now, I'll fast forward here a little, as a business coach now, working with a lot of different clients over the last 4 years, that's one of the hardest things to transition out of the security of, your job, right? Especially if you're not like, you didn't just start a business, you didn't get into it, you were working in a career somewhere, but you want and feel like you're being called to be an entrepreneur. That transition and that jump is kind of difficult. So, once I did that, though, that's when things started to change. I hired a coach, Josh Latimer. You guys know Latimer, I'm sure, really well. He's a great guy. But, I remember back in the old AGSX days, having people at his house. And I was one of those guys came out. I was like, this guy's crazy. He invited like 30 people to his house. What's going on here, man? But like, so much value, such a great community. I learned so much. And he was a big part of helping me grow my company. I ended up, learning about systems, processes, profit and loss statement of cash flow, how to really run a company, how to recruit, how to train people. And, from that little small expedition, doing some house washes on the weekends, we have 3 locations now, 40 plus employees in 2 different states. And now I'm on my second business right now. So it's been a crazy journey. Sounds super cool, but made every mistake in the book, continue to make mistakes, love mistakes, welcome mistakes, right? Like you're either winning or learning. That's what I convinced myself, at least. So, but it's been fun, man, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And now I'm in a position where I'm pretty much out of the day-to-day with with Ecotech, the power washing company, and I ended up getting into roofing, and that's been like the new venture. So I'm taking a very active role in the day today with that company, just kind of like feeling it out, understanding it. I think that's the operator in me. As an entrepreneur, I've got a really strong visionary side, but I'm also an integrator, and I kind of like to immerse myself in my businesses just so I can really understand it. Because when I can make sense of things, I feel like that's when I can dump the rocket fuel on it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think I knew you were a nurse. I might have, but the only thing, you ever see Reacher?
No.
Oh man, you gotta see Reacher because the guy reminds me of you. Yeah, the guy reminds me of you walking around in what do they call those things? Scrubs. So
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, dude, those stuff.
We have a similar story in math and science. Like when you said that, like somebody told me I was good at math and science, and like you ventured down that path. I almost got a degree in chemical engineering because I was good at math and science. Like that's not what I wanted to do. But you brought up an interesting point in that holding you back because you had that safety net, you had that plan B. And a lot of times when people jump into entrepreneurship, the thing that propels them to the next level is they don't have a plan B, right? They gave up everything to start their business and they would have to do something on their own to make extra money. But this is the way to support the family. And it took you giving up that cushion, that thing that you had that you knew you could still make money and support your family working as a nurse, and didn't have that, I guess, scariness in the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know if I said it or not, but it was actually that for me was, I realized it was the crutch, right? It was the bottleneck, but it was pretty easy once I realized that to just make the jump. I'm a really big risk taker and pretty aggressive when it comes to business and a lot of making decisions in general. But I agree with you. It is tough. It's difficult for a lot of people to do that. And I think a lot of that comes from the anxiety, right? It's like this fear because you just don't know. And so I think, having that awareness, then you just got to close the gap, right? You need to figure out what the plan is going to look like. How are you going to supplement your income, reverse engineer that with how the business can serve you in that way? And I mean, it's kind of easy when you're doing good work and you're getting customers though, too, right? So, I don't know. I love that. I love working with people that are kind of making that transition because I can identify with them, especially having kids, having a wife, being a family guy. There's more than just yourself that you have to worry about. And, I like working through that mindset with people.
I feel like I end up doing a plug for Conquer almost every episode, but, you started, 2018 AGSX, was that, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I was one of the first deposits. They took deposits at Josh's house. I was one of the first Conquerors. Yep.
Because I joined 2019, and it's incredible to see how many people were a part of that. And I'm not pitching just Conquer for a coaching program. I think, there's a lot of great ones out there. I just happen to use Conquer because it worked for me. But those that actually take that leap of faith, take the step forward to get a coach or any type of coaching program and execute on a high level. Don't just do it just to say they did it and then not do any of the work. But how successful that crew from the 2018, 19, 20 are today and what they've been doing. And it'd be fun to actually kind of go back to that OG and see where they are now, for the ones that actually just kept going and growing. And it's just like I told our previous guest, if it wasn't for Conquer, I would not be here today because I was doing everything myself the hard way. And that's the only way I knew until I realized that there's a better way of doing it.
100%, man. And that's another mindset that you just kind of have to smash through. I remember I didn't think anybody could go out and do the work as good as me. And I was terrified they were going to destroy people's property. And it got to the point where I had to, no matter what, hell or high water, I wasn't going to lose. I would lose a customer. I would lose an employee. It didn't matter what. I wasn't going out in the field because I just had to shake that. I had to commit to not doing that anymore to make that transition. And that stuff is difficult. Conquer, again, plug. I don't work with Conquer anymore. I'm actually not a coach anymore. I've been not coaching now for I'd say maybe 6-8 months. And but I would say the same thing, man. Incredible program, a lot of great coaching programs. But I think what you'll find is a lot of really high achievers, and especially either in business, athletes, world-class athletes. They all have a coach, man. They're all getting coached, and that sometimes they're changing their coaches up too. Because one coach will work now, what stage you're at, and then you may need a new coach to get to the next level, right? Especially as your mindset shifts, your goals change. So, yeah, I will always have a coach. In fact, I have 2 coaches right now, and I could justify having 4 or 5 if I could afford
it. Yeah, I think that's a really key point too. Is not that the coach is not being effective anymore. It's just that things change, business change, your goals change, your mindset changes. And sometimes we need that change as a coach to work on a different perspective or come at us at a different angle, and teach us new ways because they all teach us differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You got to invest in yourself. And I think that was I'm so grateful. And you guys are the same way. JC, I know you do. I mean, you've been in Conquer, you've had coaches, you were with Apex. I'm so grateful to be that humble to know that I don't have all the answers and to be willing to let other people teach me and to be seeking that all the time. Because that's the key to the success. Any success I've had is because of that. So it's that open-mindedness, that willingness, and always wanting to improve and looking to others for answers and guidance. Because a lot of times we don't have to recreate the wheel. Everything's already been done, really. We just need to find out how to do it right and just kind of copy what's already been done, really. Just tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit your own, but you don't have to you don't have to recreate the wheel.
Absolutely. And in any area of life that you want to grow, not just your business, anything that you want to stretch personally, fitness, anything that, if you want to take it to the next level, the coach is usually the answer. So before we dive into the Foxhole moments, what is a win that you're celebrating either in business or some area of your life?
Okay. Well, I coach my kids in wrestling. They've been crushing it lately. All my kids took first place this past weekend. So on a personal level, I was really excited about that. little bummed out that the Ravens lost on the personal side. That kind of screwed up my week a little bit, being honest. But business-wise, we're doing great. Ecotech, and when we dive into the Foxhole, we'll talk a little bit about that because I got some things I definitely want to share there. But Ecotech made Inc. 5000 this past year, and we're really proud of that. 35-17.
Wow.
So that was a really big accomplishment. Yeah, I'm really proud of what they've been doing over there. Got an incredible team. Airtight exteriors. I didn't really get into this, telling you the story in the background, but this was my dad's company. So my dad started this in 1992. It was airtight windows and doors. And he's getting to that point now in his life where he wants to retire. And he used to have a decent sized operation, multiple 7-figure company, employees, had a building, and ended up downsizing after 07, 08. Got hit pretty hard with that whole depression, recession era. So he ran his business for the last, 14, 15 years, just kind of like an owner operator. He's a career salesman, incredible salesperson. It's a general contracting model. So he'd go out and sell, and then he had subcontractors do the work. So lived a very comfortable life, very successful, but he's getting to that point where he wanted to retire. And so we had a conversation, him and my brother, when we were on vacation this past 2 years ago. And I was like, Dad, what's the retirement plan? He's like, well, I'd like to sell the company, but I don't really have anything I can sell. I said, yeah, that's the problem with you, man. It's not a sellable asset. People that buy companies, buy businesses, they want to put money out and they want to get a return. They don't want to come out and sell windows and doors every day, right? They're investors, they're suits. So we talked, I said, well, look, why don't we get involved? Why don't Sean and I get involved? My brother's a great salesperson. I know home service. I know how to market. I know digital marketing. I really think we could blow it up pretty quick. So fast forward, we partnered last year, and in 1 year, we 3X the business, a little over 3X. So really excited, a lot of success there. So that's a big win on the business side. The growth is positive. Of course, with growth comes pain. So everything's breaking in half. We're having to reevaluate all the systems, the CRMs, all that stuff. But yeah, really, really excited about that. So there's my win.
Awesome. That's a big win. That's a lot of wins. I love that.
Yeah.
Congrats on being that kick-ass coach dad.
That's fun.
That's a challenge. Parenting is the biggest challenge. Let me tell you. People say business is tough. I'll tell you, parenting's tough.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
I've got 2 little girls. I'm very blessed that they're very well raised, respectful kids, and yes, it can be tough.
100%.
But most people see what they want to see, especially on social media. They're going to see Josh, super successful, brilliant father, husband, successful entrepreneur. But you and I both know that life isn't always as great as we try and paint it. And we go through these struggles, especially getting a new business, acquiring a new business, growing through that. So let's talk about some of those Foxhole moments that you mentioned earlier about Ecotech.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, we're in some of those Foxhole moments right now with Ecotech. I mean, we made Inc. 5000, but I think Tommy Mello, a buddy of mine, says, and I think he got this from Profit First, revenue for vanity, profit for sanity, right? We've all heard that, something along those lines, that same phrase, and that couldn't be any more true. And I learned a really tough lesson in that company. I never really took time to focus on profitability with Ecotech. And that's kind of my personality. I'm just like a driver. I want to just build and build and grow and grow. And so we grew. We got really top heavy really quick. COVID was great, right? A lot of money pumping out there, all that liquidity that got pumped out to all the business owners. So we did really well with all of that, but we also got really fat. And because we got fat, we got a little inefficient, and we've been really struggling with cash flow issues probably for the last 12 months. So we recently made some really, really big changes, restructured the org chart, dove into our SG&A part of the P&L, and I mean, we've cut off, I'd say, a good $250,000 a year at least in overhead, which is really, really positive. So some good changes taking place, but I think anyone that's in home service, anyone that's got accounts receivable to worry about, large amounts of payroll, W-2 employees, can at some point or another has probably, struggled with cash flow or making payroll. And so those moments, I've got a dozen of them. I could tell you in the last 12 months where, I'm scrambling the day before, pulling money out of this line of credit that I haven't used in over a year, but need the money to put in here. I'm not even with that bank anymore to make payroll. You know, I've been in there. I've got $60,000 in payroll. Isn't a lot to some people. For that company, that's a lot, but it's bi-weekly. And the bank account, I'm 2 days away from it coming out. There's $8,000 in the bank account, in the checking. You know what I mean? So those are the moments where I'm like, I think back to that though. You guys follow David Goggins?
Oh yeah,
Jason,
Yeah.
big. You know, he calls those are cookie jar moments, right? Like if you read Can't Hurt Me, that book was amazing. But those cookie jar moments are like, man, you know, you're sitting there, you want to give up. You're like, I don't just go. The audiobook's really good because they do like a commentary.
Yeah.
They stop
Yeah.
it.
one of the best audibles out there.
It is.
Yeah. But I think of when I go through hard shit, that's what I do. I think about those cookie jar moments. I'm like, yep, shoving that one in the cookie jar, pull that one out later. But been a lot of cookie jar moments with that company, and a lot of it has been cash flow. We grew really, really fast with multi-unit. So commercial, apartment cleaning, mid-rise, condominiums, things like that. And so we were carrying a really large amount of accounts receivable. And then you had people being late, which happens, and then touch-ups that delay payments and things like that. So it just kind of snowballed, and we got into a tight spot. But, you know, starting to see our way out of it now. Grateful for that.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, as you grow, obviously we're spending more money, but sometimes we just kind of lose sight of that. And depending on how quickly you want to grow, you are going to get more of that, more expenses going out.
Yeah.
And luckily, it was an awakening for you because to shed $250,000 in expenses that you don't need and you can still grow efficiently now. Just think about how profitable you guys will be this year going to 2024.
Yeah. Well, and Angela, we were talking about math, right? Like you're into math and science, and really the numbers were the big part of that, right? So we started really diving into the marketing spend analysis and looking at the ROI. And I can give you the figure. It was kind of astonishing. Out of, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing, a good 160, 180,000 of it we were spending to make like 380,000. So it's like, that is like, we're losing money there. If you look at what it goes into just like servicing, like selling that amount of work and then doing that kind of work, and you're spending that much to just acquire it, like it just didn't make sense. Even factoring in lifetime value, at least doesn't make that sense for us right now. So, you know, I'll kind of let the math, you know, make the decision for us, which was really, really, really helpful. So, and that's how I encourage anybody, you know, look at the numbers. The numbers will tell the story, right? Make your decisions based off of facts. Don't be subjective. Follow the numbers. So many times we've gotten that wrong in the past. You know, I remember when we first started advertising, this was like 7 or 8 years ago with Angie's. It was Home Advisor back then. We were on this 360 program, dude. We get like 300 leads in like 2.5 weeks. Like, oh my God, we're killing it, man. And then we run the ROI report. We look at invoices and we would, you know, filter by lead source. And we're like, we sold like $15,000.
Yep.
We spent like 20 for the leads. Well, oh shit, we're not going to, let's kill that. That's done. You know, so the math is where it's at for sure.
And that's, you know, a huge part of Conquer and programs out there like that to make you aware of those things, your customer acquisition cost, your conversion rate. You know, we just look at things like, oh yeah, it's working. Well, is it really? And then once you dive into it, you're like, whoa, I was way off on that one. Like, we'll never do a billboard again. EDDM really doesn't work too well in our area. Yard signs are incredible. Door hangers work good. Branding's our number one. So you got to really dial in that marketing, or else you're going to be throwing thousands and thousands of dollars out every single year and not getting that ROI.
Yeah.
And like you said, the numbers tell a story. I think that was important because a lot of times I think as visionary entrepreneurs, especially, we just want to pour gas. Things are going really well. And you just think you can solve everything with sales. You know, I'll sell my way out of this, pour gas on the fire. And you're scared to look at the numbers, to go back and look at all those things. And it takes a certain vulnerability, I think, when you know things aren't going well, to even take a look at those. Like, because all you're seeing is that scarcity of there's not even enough money in the bank account. I don't even want to look at how I got myself here.
You nailed it. I mean, those are the exact thoughts that have gone through my mind several times. So, I mean, you just ignore it. You kind of want, it gives you a sense of, like you said, anxiety. It's effort, it's exhausting, it's pressure and noise. It's not what you want to focus on as a visionary entrepreneur. You want to be, like you said, selling, building relationships, and just being in that positive, like, flow of energy, that positive momentum. So.
Josh, you said you acquired your father's company, and with your brother, is he with you too, you said?
Yep. So 3 of us are partnered.
So how is that transition from working by yourself, now you in the family, and sometimes they can get real tricky? How's that working out for you guys?
Yeah, and I thought a lot about that before I did this. And the good thing is, my brother and I would say my brother and I know how to deal with my dad. I say that. My dad's a like high D, very dominant, military, but he's also, it's funny to watch and see how he's changed over the years. And he's much more willing and open. And so my brother and I, sometimes we got to we got to outnumber him once in a while and push things through. But we work together really, really well. Everybody listens to one another. I think my dad has a lot of respect for me and takes a lot of the suggestions that I bring to the table. And sometimes he doesn't understand them, but he allows Sean and I to do things. And I think that's cool. I think it's like the parenting thing too. Sometimes, like, we came in and we wanted to do some things that he said, no, you just can't do that. You can't do it that way. That's never worked. And sometimes it has worked, and then other times it hasn't, right? And so it's like, he's got that mindset where he's kind of like, I got to let these guys make decisions, and they've got to kind of fail on their own sometimes too with things, right? Like, sometimes you can't protect even your employees from all the mistakes, right? They've got to just go out and kind of learn. And so, yeah, it's been a good dynamic. We really split up the roles and responsibilities. We just had our actual annual meeting where we really dove in a little deeper on that. But we all have our lanes that we're kind of in, and my brother's really big on the production side right now. I'm focused more on building the sales teams. My dad does a lot of back end billing, administrative support. He's out selling as well, though. But it's a good dynamic right now. Do we have our struggles and our challenges sometimes? Absolutely. But it's been positive for the most part. I really enjoyed it. I love being able to work with my dad and my brother. I talk to them every day, so that's like a big bonus, a big plus. We plan vacations together now, and we do a lot more. We're just really intertwined in each other's lives more than we would have been. So that's a big positive for me.
I love that. I've been working with my dad since I was a kid, and today we're at a job site, and I was in my lift. And I took a picture on video, and he saw it. He's like, I want to go see that. And he hasn't been in the lift at all since I bought the thing 2 years ago. So he jumped in the lift, and we got up 65 feet in the air, and we're just chilling. Took a quick picture. I'm like, what's up, Dad?
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I got some good memories thinking back, remembering my dad as a kid, just, in his suit, coming home every day. He was a career salesman, dude, just incredible salesperson. But he taught me a lot about business, which was really kind of cool. And I think it's neat now working with him. And then I'm kind of like adding the value that I've been able to kind of extract from my experiences up until this point. So it's fun, man. It's cool, but we can go ahead and move on. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I mean, I love hearing talk about that. But, two completely different business models, higher ticket, more of a reoccurring with the washing. Say business is business, but I feel that's got to be a hard transition maybe to go from the washing into the roofing, completely different industry. How was that transition for you?
So there's a lot of differences. There's definitely similarities, right? Like, you still have the CRM, you still have to do marketing, you still have to have customer service. So a lot of those systems are there. I would say on the production side, it's a lot different. And then obviously, like, the org chart and just the managing people, right? W-2 versus a 1099 general contracting model is just completely different. And I prefer the GC model all day long, twice on Sundays kind of thing. It's amazing. 1099, you're dealing with professionals. It's complete accountability and ownership of the project and their part and their role in it. So we've had really good success with that. We do have good subcontractors too, but you don't get the calls about being sick, not coming in, or flat tires, and all these things you manage as with W-2 employees, right? The way they say, like, if you manage people, every person starts the week with 2 problems, right? So if you manage 7 people before you even come to work on Monday, you've got 14 problems as the production manager in that department, right? So you just don't have all that. You don't hear about it. They just go out. These guys get their work done, and they get paid for what they do. So it's fun. I like it. I feel like it's an easier model to scale, in my opinion, just because, well, at least in my area, there's an abundance of subcontractors, so it's not hard to find talent. So that could be just a geographical thing. You know how hard it is to find employees, right? W-2 employees. Recruiting and hiring is the name of the game, right? I always say it's 3 systems. You got to have lead generation, you got to have recruiting, and you got to have training. Those are the 3 things really to scale and grow your company. And hiring and recruiting has been, I would say, really for Ecotech has been our biggest challenge for the last 2 years. But aside from cash flow, we'll call it second cash flow. So.
Yeah, like you said, you take out a whole bunch of those people issues. The hiring, the recruiting, the ongoing culture, the training, all of those things. And instead you're partnering with people of a like mentality. You're partnering with other business owners instead of people that are leading people that are on the team. I feel like that relationship is more like, let me partner with people to build this success.
You nailed it. They're business owners just like you, right? So they think about it the same way. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah.
Well, I could go down that rabbit hole forever too, but I know you guys want to talk about some fitness. Me too. So do we have a question in there?
Well, no, I mean, Josh and his wife just did the, what did you guys end up doing? 80 or?
Oh, the fast. So we did the 86 hours, was 3.5 days. Yep. Yeah, that was fun. That was interesting. That was good. That was a great experience.
You saw doing that. I know you did share a lot of it on Facebook, so it's pretty cool to watch the journey, the two of you doing it, the morning talks and everything. But what was the main reason behind you starting that? And are you going to do it again? Because I'm ready to do one. I haven't done the 86 yet. That's 48.
We did 48, and I was kind of whiny. I will admit, I wasn't. Full disclosure, like he's like, let's do this 86-hour fast, and I wasn't at the point that I was like,
wow, that's like the opposite. I was whiny. My wife was the hard ass. She was being really tough. I was being the whiner. But I tell you, the first 48 hours are the hardest stuff too. At least for me, it was. So that might be you. If you take it a little further than that, Angela, you may find that after 48 hours, it's a little bit easier. The reason I say that, I think what happens is, like, I did some reading, I think, but I read up on it. Like, your blood sugar level, they start to kind of like even out. You really kind of purge all the carbohydrates and sugars out of your body. So you're really into like that, like, I guess, keto type, environment where you're burning fat, utilizing that for energy, blood sugar stable. So the cravings go away, which is a big problem for me. When the cravings kick in, I'm like, ooh, that's tough. And that happened on day 2. But to answer your question, the reason I did it, nothing really fancy, to be honest with you. I was like, I'm kind of one of these guys. I'm like, oh, that looks tough. Let's just do it, right? So I was like, I just wanted to challenge myself. And then along the way, I was educating myself, reading about it, and people were like, oh, I post a video and I'd get like 10 comments or 15 comments, and somebody would be saying the benefits of it. So I was like, oh, wow, this is like, there's a lot going on here. So I read more about it and started educating myself. And so that was a big bonus to help. Right now, I'm kind of obsessed with that part of it because I read that it can lower your chances of getting cancer like significantly. Yep. I'm like, that's always like the big fear. Like, cancer can take the healthiest young, beautiful person and just knock them out. And I'm like, if this can lower your chances of cancer by like 70 to 80, 90%, why the hell isn't everybody fasting at least once or twice in their life right now? Like, for a prolonged period, wiping out those cancer cells.
Yeah, I was on a Instagram binge while we were traveling and just reading all the benefits and watching the videos of the benefits of doing it. And it's just not one person saying it. It's consistently across the board of all the amazing benefits of doing it. And I think there was like, I don't know, it was probably because of Joe Rogan that everybody started that trend a couple of weeks ago. But I'm thankful for that because it raised so much awareness for others to want to do it. And had that not have happened and everybody's seen those results, wouldn't have been so trendy, but now that trend is raising awareness of the health benefits and the simple things we can be doing to our bodies to be so effective long term. And again, like you said, why would you not do it?
Yeah. And it goes back to like kind of the simplest things. I think we've just gotten so domesticated and so comfortable and cozy as human beings. But if you think back like to the primitive man, the primitive woman, it wasn't really like that, right? Like we like killed animals and used their fur for clothing and probably went out sub 20, 30 degrees with our arms exposed, just with a hammock across us, right? Like we were exposed to cold. We ate, we hunted, we ate, and then we probably didn't eat for a couple days until we killed something again to eat. So I think like getting back to that is key. And I'm not saying like completely, right? We're not gonna go back to like walk around with togas and throwing spears at white deer running down the street. But like yeah, right. But like the cold plunging, I'm big into that now. I try to get at least like 15 minutes a weekend of cold plunging. So I'm like 4 to 6 days a week doing that in the mornings, which is really great. So, but it's the basic stuff. Eat healthy, avoid things that have labels and preservatives. Right? Eat meats, and I'm getting into a little bit of the gluten-free kind of stuff too. Trying that out. Do you guys do any of that? Are you gluten-free?
So my kids both have Hashimoto, hypothyroid. Got diagnosed 10 years ago. So now they're adults, 21 and 23. But yes, so we started that 10 years ago, and you just noticed a huge, I mean, you're cooking like that for them. And it's a huge difference if you take it out of your life. And obviously, if you're eating gluten-free and you're really trying to eat clean gluten-free, then you're not eating a lot of processed things that, you're not eating things out of a box or a bag or all of that as well. So I think it makes a huge difference in inflammation and gut health.
That's what I hear. The inflammation is big.
Yeah, we super conscious about what we eat, and we try to stick to a semi full-time carnivore diet. We just bought a quarter cow from a local butcher. If you can do that, I highly recommend it. You're saving so much money. You know where the meat's coming from. It's so much cleaner. It tastes so much better. I mean, we paid $8 a pound for a quarter cow, and you're not getting that price anywhere in a grocery store. So that really helps. But again, we're real conscious on what we eat, and then when we travel, it does get hard. I mean, I had like, what was it? Corn dog, which is something I'd never eat, but it was out at the venue we're at, and I ate it, and I just felt awful after it. So it's hard to stay consistent when you're on the road a lot, but not saying that you can't do it. You just got to be just very more conscious about what you're eating and how you can prepare for that while you're traveling.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say the nutrition is, and for most people, for myself and for most people, I think is probably the biggest challenge, right? Because you do have to be intentional. You have to plan. If you really want to be successful at it and you want to get the body fat down to really, really low, like under 10, especially, you've got to plan. You got to meal prep. It's a thing. And traveling, if I'm being honest, always throws a monkey wrench in it for me as well. Like it's really difficult. If it's a day or two somewhere, I can take a cooler, or I can pick a salad and something lean off the menu for a day or two. But beyond that, like if we're going on vacation, it's like it's on, man. I'm gonna and I'm gonna suffer and hate myself afterwards for it.
I think that was one of the real benefits of fasting, and maybe why I was whiny in the beginning is because I really wanted to focus on the mental aspect of it, right? Like there is the physical discipline of the pain of not eating. And if I can do this, I can do anything hard. But it's this real awareness of, and like being present in that awareness of how often we reach for food. And like sitting in how often, like you said, we've gotten comfortable, and you don't realize, even if you are following like a nutrition plan that is, we're mostly carnivore, we're just eating that, it's still okay. I can go grab some protein out of the fridge. That as soon as we feel like uncomfortable in some way or bored or trying to avoid something, we search for something comfortable, and often that's food. And I think you don't find that awareness until you're really doing a long-term fast, how often you go to want something and why.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you, one of the things I really learned through the fast was the difference really between hunger and cravings. So that was really big. And I also, you said like out of boredom we will eat. It's amazing to me how much like we'll think we need to eat, but we're really just thirsty, we're dehydrated. Because one of the hardest things for me during the fast was actually staying hydrated. So I was like drinking a lot of water, but I always felt like my lips were really dry or my mouth was dry and chapped. And, so I was just drinking all the time. And then I thought about it. I'm like, man, I never drink like this. I never drink water like this. And I'm like, well, where am I getting my water from? Because I don't feel dehydrated. And I'm like, because I'm eating all the time. Because I'm getting my fluid and I'm getting hydrated from the foods I eat. So I think we mistake in dehydration for hunger. I think we mistake in being hungry with cravings because we're always spiking our blood sugar levels with all the sugars and the sodas and all. I don't drink that, but guilty pleasure, Monster energy drinks. But that stuff doesn't help. So, I learned that, and I'm with you. I wanted the mental toughness part. I used to cut weight all the time for wrestling, and I hadn't in years. And I was like, man, I can't imagine doing that. Like as an adult, having responsibilities, having to show up to work, kids. I was thinking about that, and I was like, that sounds like that would be just cool to kind of get back there. Like, let me prove to myself that I still got it. Like I can control my food, my eating. So that was neat. Plus, I am actually registered for the men's Masters Division U.S. Open in Las Vegas in April. So I will be back on the mat. I've got to lose about 15 pounds. So that might have played a little bit of a role into it.
Oh, wait, congrats. That's incredible.
Yeah, man. My crazy brother-in-law, he was a All-American D1 wrestler at Maryland, and I wrestled my whole life too. I ended up pulling out last minute. I was supposed to wrestle at West Virginia and did not, but he convinced me to do it. He's still like in incredible shape. Like the guy can, standing backflips. He's 40 years old, and so we'll see. Hopefully, I don't get too banged up. Be in a wheelchair in a couple months. Your second podcast episode of the body cast.
Yeah, the best thing about watching you go through that fasting though was having your wife by your side and doing it with you. And so grateful for Angela, because anytime we have these crazy ideas or want to eat healthier, we want to do it together, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable and easier to have that support and not see her eat a big burger while I'm like starving and salivating. Like, so it definitely makes it having the support system.
I was so impressed by my wife. She was like, I was like, hun, you want to do it together? And she was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And wasn't sure, but man, she powered through it like easier than I did. I'm sitting there trying to take a nap. I'm like, I just need to go lay down and take a nap on day 2. I'm being a big baby. I'm crying. She's just like cruising, man. She crushed it. So she's cool. I always drag her into my crazy ideas too. I remember when I made her jump out of a plane with me, skydiving. Now she loves it though. I saw you guys went too, didn't you, recently?
Yeah, we just did that too.
In October.
That's awesome, man. What'd you think? Love it?
We're ready to go again.
Oh yeah.
Like before I even hit the ground, I'm like, I never wanted to do it, and then we did it, and I'm like, we're doing it again. But now we want to do destination because there's no point in doing the same place. So we want to just kind of travel and do in different locations.
I did it last time. I did it was in Utah, over out where Moab. So you can see all the.
That's cool.
So cool, man. It's beautiful. But isn't it funny how exhausted you are afterwards? It's like it's such a quick experience, but you get done. I think the adrenaline. I don't know if you felt this, but I was just like, every time I do it, I'm like wiped out from the adrenaline rush. This huge surge of adrenaline, and then when I come down, I'm like, whew, I needed that.
Yeah, I think it was like 20 minutes from takeoff to touching the ground. But the anticipation of hours of leading up into it, and then just the nervousness, and then you're done. You're like, that was so cool.
Yep.
All right, Josh. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on and sharing with our viewers some of your stories and success in life, business, and your family. Best of